working or not here, they can watch the recording later. Good morning. We've got Jodi Keller today, and she's going to share her story, which maybe one or two of our teammates on this particular call have heard because we did that Train Your Brain small group right after Jamaica. But for a lot of people, this will be the first time. So Jodi and I met through, well, obviously LeBri, but specifically I heard her story through one of Gina's calls. I mean, if Gina didn't do those calls, none of us would be where we are, probably connection wise. I mean, those calls are just magical. And I heard Jodi's story, and it just like unlocked this whole other level. I heard it last spring, right before my business like exploded. So I'm so grateful to Jodi. So glad you're here. And I'm just going to let you start from the top.
All right. Well, this is fun. Thanks for asking me to jump in here. And I love talking about Train Your Brain, which I know you totally just latched onto. So it's always fun to have somebody else that thinks the same way as me. So my story started 15 years ago when LeBri was not very well known around my area. And I was invited to a party. I went, and I remember even telling my husband, like, well, this is one party. You don't have to worry about me buying anything because I don't even wash my face. Like, I don't use skincare. Like, this is a safe party for me. I don't even need to take my purse. But I fell in love with the products, and I ended up booking a show. I bought a set. And at my party, my mom and my sisters were like, you should just do this and we'll buy from you. So I was like, okay, sounds good. Sign me up. Like, I didn't even give it another thought. Joined. This was before we had kids. And I did shows just to introduce my family and our close friends to it. And then after about 5-6 months, then I stopped doing shows, and just over the next like 7-8 years, just kept sharing a monthly sales flyer. Like, originally when I joined, I did like trainings at the home office. I did trainings with Gina. So I knew, 8 years later where to go. But I never like read anything besides a sale flyer. I had no idea what my sales were. I would just randomly get checks in the mail. So it was very fun. And when our youngest son was 1 and we had twins that were 5, my husband was like, you should really get a job. Because at the time I was just babysitting a couple my nephews, and so a few kids, and waitressing at night. So he's like, you should get a job, because if my job, he was working in construction. So if his job stopped before they started like their next project, there could be like a few weeks where they weren't working. We knew like there's no way we're going to be able to make ends meet, because we were living paycheck to paycheck. So at that time, I had a 31 party, and that was like 31 was brand new. And I remember telling my mom, I think I'm going to join 31. And she's like, why would you join 31? You sell LeBri. I'm like, I don't really sell LeBri. Like, nobody even knows I sell LeBri. Like, I don't even talk about the products. And I said, and maybe if I sell 31, more people will learn about, like, I'll just get more customers for LeBri. So it's kind of funny. And it ended up, thank goodness, I ended up not joining 31 and joining LeBri again. Well, like, not joining, but restarting. But at that same time, I had a friend from town send me an email. Hey, I heard you sell LeBri. Would you do a party for me? And I was like, what? So I'm like, what do I say? My husband Chad's like, will you say you're going to do the party? So I messaged Gina, send her an email. I was like, hey, I have somebody that wants me to do a party. Can I do it off of samples? And she's like, call me. You know how Gina, if any of you work with Gina, it's like, she's not going to respond to an email. She's like, get on the phone, let's talk. So she's like, what have you been doing the last 8 years, So we end up talking, and she's like, hey, I have a meeting coming up. Why don't you come to the meeting? And it just so happened it was like 20 minutes from my house. And I was like, sure, I'll go to the meeting, and went to the meeting, and it was like the only time they've ever done a meeting like that. It was like everything fell into place. Um, so I restarted in March of 2012, and she kept saying, like, I left the meeting and I was like, okay, so should I call you tomorrow? And she goes, why don't you just get 8 shows on your calendar and then give me a call? And I was like, okay, sounds good. So I went home and like got my 8 shows set up, called her Monday. She started working with me, and she kept saying, you know, gosh, it's so easy now to build your business. Kind of like what we say, right, Melissa? It's like, oh, it's so easy right now compared to when we started. So that was kind of her thing. Like, if you just do this for 18 months, you're going to make $5,000 a month. And I was like, well, I can do anything for 18 months. So just buckled down and treated LeBri like a business. And I did a ton of shows. So I think the first year I was like the top 3 in shows at convention. I think it was like 78 shows or something like that. So from all those shows, I met a ton of people, and a lot of them are like on my team today. So for me, that's it. All started with just jump starting with shows. And so on month 17, well, let me back up a little bit. So I discovered Dana Wild on June 30th of 2013. So it was the end, I had just promoted a manager, and she sent this email that was like, do you want to work harder or do you want to work less and make more? Are you working too hard for, you know, I don't even remember. It was like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, I want more money and I don't want to work as hard. It's like, this totally speaks to me. So I jumped on her free training call and totally dove into Train Your Brain, kind of like what the book is, you know, what you've been hearing from Melissa. And when you start reading the book, it's one of those things that it just like consumes you, right? So this was all I could talk about. This is all I was thinking about. And every day after work, Chad would come home and I would like tell him everything I learned. Hey, did you know if I say I'm a money magnet, like Dana says I'm going to go to the mailbox and there could be like a check. So I'm like, this is so cool. Or I'll like grab a pair of pants from last year and all of a sudden there's going to be a $20 bill. And he's like, okay. So he kind of just like went along with me, and he's very supportive. So I was like, okay, so whatever you think about and talk about comes true. So we have to really watch what we're saying, and we have to watch what the kids are saying. So if the kids would say they, you know, I can't do that, we're like, no, you can. You know, you can't say the word can't. That's not in our vocabulary, and because they were little at the time. So this was our main focus for, you know, 2 months. And on the middle of September, so it was like September 14th, he had an accident where he went out he went out bow hunting. It was opening day of bow hunting, and he fell out of his tree stand. He passed out. The doctor said he was dehydrated. That's what they're thinking. So he passed out, was not harnessed, which he wears the harness now, but he fell, and he ended up having a spinal cord injury in his upper neck. Oh, sorry about that. And he broke his back and he broke his ribs, but he hit the ground, and when he came to, it took him like 30 to 45 minutes, I think he said, just to get his phone out of his pocket to be able to call me, because he was losing feeling. So he didn't have feeling in his legs. So by the time he was able to like army crawl and try to like roll over and get a hold of me to get him help, just a minute. Okay. He was laying there saying positive thoughts. Like, he never had the thought of like, I can't feel my legs, I'm never going to walk. It was, what am I going to do now? I need to get my phone. Like, I'm going to be fine. I just need to get my phone. Like, he just stayed very calm because he knew, based on what Dana was teaching us for 2.5 months, was what I say, what I think is going to come true. So when I got the call, it was like I was like in train your brain mode too, that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, like everything is going to be fine. Everything is going to be fine. Like talking to his mom, oh, everything is going to be fine. And so he trained his brain right through that spinal cord injury. And he ended up being able to walk. I mean, he was like miraculous recovery. The doctors, the nurses, the PT, the OT, they're like, it was like they had so much fun working with him because he was so positive. And he was like, sure, I'll try it. Yep, let's try that. Yep, let's do that. So it was like, yeah, Brandy says, praise God. I honestly, it was like, I couldn't, how we talk about visualization. It's like, I could not picture our life with him in a wheelchair, and he couldn't picture his life with him in a wheelchair. So it was like, whatever it's going to take. So even when they said, all right, so it's time to order your wheelchair. And he's like, I don't need a wheelchair. And they're like, you need a wheelchair to go home. Like you can't walk. And he's like, I'll figure it out. Like, I'm not ordering a wheelchair. Like, can I just borrow this one for a little bit? So he did. He ended up borrowing the hospital's wheelchair. And he walked into our house 6 weeks after his accident. It was just completely like, it was crazy. But with LeBri, I mean, I was able to just like, not check out, but I was like, hey, everyone, just so you know, Chad had an accident. We're going to be spending, a few weeks at the hospital. If you need anything, let me know or call the office. Like, if you want to help and you're on my team, get $200 in sales for the next 3 months every month. And they were like, that's all I have to do. I'm like, yeah, just hit 200. Like, we're good. Like, let's just stay qualified. And during those 3 months, those were my 3 months of promoting to exec. So it was like the craziest time in our life. I mean, we had to do it 3 months in a row. So September, October, November. And I picked up my Nissan. We didn't have a vehicle for him. We had a van, but we needed one more vehicle. So I got my Nissan on November 29th of 2013 and never have missed a car payment since. It's just like the most crazy story. And it was like, wow, if Train Your Brain works for like your life, it was just a natural thing for us just to transition right into the business. So it's what I've taught my team and, all my leaders, we have 8 execs and every one of them trains their brain, every single one. And managers train their brain, the people, it's just like, this is our language. And it does take, I don't want to say it takes work. Sometimes it's exhausting because you keep paying attention to what you're thinking about and what you're saying. And you're like, wait, I shouldn't really say that. I don't want that to come true. So yeah, it's been fun. So, do you have any other questions, Melissa? Like, what else do you want me to talk about?
That was the first time I've heard that story and not cried. And I think it's just because I find so much joy in like the outcome of what's happened that I'm like, there's no tears left. It's just happy, grateful, so much gratitude. I got to hear that story from Chad himself in Jamaica. So I feel like, I don't know, such a powerful story, and it's so true. I want to ask you, and then I'll let other people ask questions too, because if that's okay with you, I want to know, what do you do when you fall off the Train Your Brain wagon? Like, what happens when you set it down? Has that ever happened to you or happened to a teammate?
Oh, it happens to me quite a bit. And I can tell it's when I don't have a solid mantra. So it's like when I don't have a mantra, because my mantras change quite a bit. But when I don't have my mantra, it's like, oh, like it just feels like everything is harder. So I usually stop and like, okay, what do I want? And then I try to, you know, pick up the book and get in on Dana's podcast or other training that she does just to like bring it back up. But usually just snapping out of it with a new mantra, because sometimes they get, I don't want to say dull, they lose their impact. So
Yeah.
during that, right? Yeah, you probably, yeah, it's just, it's one of those things you're constantly working on. And I found my journal, one of her mind work experiments, it's like number 20. It says like you write down what you want and then you write down all the reasons why you expect it to happen. And I did mind work experiment number 20 on September 4th of 2013. So I literally, we were cleaning our basement like 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, what's in this box? So I like start going through it. I'm like, oh, here's a journal. And I open it up and it says, I expect to promote to executive manager. I expect this to happen because, and I had all my reasons. And then it said, my mantra is abundance flows to me daily. Abundance means an abundance of patience, an abundance of shows, an abundance of sales, an abundance of customers. And I listed it. And then you're supposed to do that exercise, I think, like every day. So Chad's like, what's on the next page? I'm like, you had an accident and then I stopped. But I'm like, clearly I did it one time and it worked.
Yeah.
It was like crazy.
You found what you found your mantra that you wrote the day before the accident, or like right before the accident?
It would have been right before, 9 days before.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I
That's
mean,
so
abundance flows to
incredible.
me daily. That was my driving to the hospital. It was a 55-minute drive. So it was like for 55 minutes, it was LeBri and Train Your Brain the whole way. It was like I would talk to Gina almost every single day. I was talking with Reggie Adams. I was like saying my mantra. That was like my time it was like abundance flows to me daily. And the amount of abundance we had, it had nothing to do with LeBri, but it was like, dang, like that's one of my favorite mantras. So I have a few
I
that
love
I
that.
just, my go-tos. Yeah. So
Last year when
um I
you
think,
shared your story. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no,
I
go
think
ahead.
there's a little bit of a delay. Last year when you shared your story, I was like, I got to get a mantra. Like and I think I asked you like what mantras should I use for shows and sponsoring, because I knew Trip Point season was going to start, and I also knew that I was going to be giving birth any day, and I was going to be stuck at home. So I knew the only way I was going to earn this trip was if I had shows and if I sponsored, but I was going to have to do it all from home, from my phone, like nothing in person. And my mantras were booking shows is easy, and people love to join my team. And yeah, you're right. The mantras have to change with our different seasons of life. So that's so cool. Does anybody else have questions for Jodi? Brandy's got two screens. That's cracking me up. Anybody else? You can unmute, you can type them in the chat, whatever's easiest for you. Ask your questions.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So with Train Your Brain, I know that I've been listening to the podcast and I'm reading the book, and I enjoy the energy a lot. And one of the things that Dana talks about is, the visualization stimulating your brain like in the morning very quickly with, a few minutes of flashcards, or we just did a workshop on doing like a visual video that I want to work on today. Did you ever do that where you like started your morning off very quickly, like looking at the things that you, or did you read your mantra, or did you chant your mantra, or like did that just come up in a time of stress? Like what were your go-to tools?
I have done like that positive prime, but I find my mornings are just they're never the same. So I typically try to just say my mantra 25 times in a row. Like when I am really focused, it's just like, all right, I just have to do it 25 times. And I typically do it in the morning, whether either it's when we're driving the kids to school or, after I'm brushing my teeth or when we get up, but 25 times a day, and you'll see
Loud or
results
in your head?
after.
Did you
I
say-
usually say them out loud. I do it out loud, but you can do it in your head too. But spoken words seem to, they work faster, is what I found. There's something about speaking it. It's like putting the vibration out there. Yeah, I can tell like when, the videos or even like the Think Up app is where you can hear yourself saying your mantra. So that's helpful. But yeah, if you can like lay in bed even and just give yourself 3 minutes to say your mantra 25 times. And I usually follow my mantra when I'm done with like what I'm thankful for, so last in January, it was my Labrie business is experiencing massive growth because God is with us and he is in control. And then at the end, like after I've done it 25 times, I would be like, thank you, God, for all the rock stars that you brought to our team. And thank you for all the sales that you're bringing me and the girls on the team. And thank you for my leaders. And so I kind of like go through and just kind of like rant out all the reasons why that's happening because of, Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I love it. Thank you.
The gratitude piece
Sure.
is huge. The gratitude piece is so, so big because I've worked with people before. They're like, Melissa, I'm saying my mantra and nothing's working. I'm like, well, do you believe it? And are you grateful for what's showing up in your life, even if it's small, even if it's, not directly related. And that book, I mean, I think I've read through some of those chapters 5 times, just like the particular ones that I need more help with. I really like the way she writes the book. Doesn't Dana Wilde do like monthly freebies and have an email newsletter and all that stuff too?
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She does the 3 minute a day, and then you get the emails. It's her and this other girl, Susie something. I forget her name. I think
Jodi,
that's her name.
tell us about how many trips you've earned, how many trips people on your team have earned, and then Brandy can ask her question.
Well, when I restarted, I was like, did you know we can earn a trip? So I restarted in March, went to my first convention in July. I didn't know, like the only people I knew was, I knew Gina and I knew Diane and I knew April Johannick. That was it. So it's like, we just showed up at convention, not knowing anyone. And I was like, it doesn't matter where the trip is going to be announced, but we're going. So trip was announced. It was Montego Bay, Jamaica. And it was like, sweet, we're all in. Like, I'll be on the trip. So, I mean, I left convention and I already like had sitters lined up. I mean, it was like asked off a waitressing. We were just planning on being on the trip. So I earned that trip and almost every single one after. I think I just haven't earned a couple. And the reason I didn't earn those is because I feel like I didn't have a mantra. I was not really excited. I don't know. It's like this weird thing. It was like a cruise. And I had always said, like, I'm never going on a cruise again. And it's like the cruise came and I was like, oh, darn it. Well, we'll just go to Arizona instead. So it's like I just missed the cruise by like 500 points. It's like my mantra wasn't there. So my story was matching up. I wasn't planning on being there. So obviously I was going to just miss it. And I was like, see, that's fine. I didn't earn it anyway.
And then what about your teammates? I
sorry.
feel like you have so many teammates join you on these trips.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So they've all trained their brain. So it's one of those things like as soon as the trip is announced, it's them telling me like, yes, I'm going to be on the trip. So when Ireland was announced, it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Ireland. So it was like Jess Maxwell was like, I'm going to Ireland for free. Like, we're going to extend the trip. Like, they had it all planned out. Of course, she was going to earn it. Laura was another one, like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go to Ireland. So, of course, she earned it. There's other consultants, I think, that wanted to earn trips, but then it was like, well, that'd be cool. Like, yeah, I hope I earn it. Like, that would be really fun. And it's like, you're not going to earn it. Like, you need to just declare it, go for it, tell yourself. Alicia Hines joined in May. And I remember talking to her in August, and she was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm going to Costa Rica. She would tell every one of her customers, like, oh, and then in fall, or when was it, was like in March. In March, we're going to Costa Rica, or April, or whatever it was. But it was like, I told her, I said, I have no doubt that you will be on the trip based on how I hear you talking and what I see from you posting. So it's like, if you declare it and you're thinking about it, you will earn a trip. So it's mindset first. 92% of your success in direct sales is mindset. 8% is what you know.
So true. It's
so yeah, so
true.
so fun. And when you promote, it's like all the trip earners that I've ever had, they've all promoted. So it's like, just keep promote, work your business, promote, but when you focus on the trip, everything else is because that's, for some people, that's what gets them really excited.
That's right. Brandy, did you still have your question?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
My cup is so full. First, Jodi, I want to thank you for doing this. I'm not going to speak too much or I'll get too emotional. I've never heard your story. I myself had a stroke at 27. So as the patient, thank the good Lord, I had no children or family to take care of at that point. But as the patient, I can now see where LeBri can definitely be the vehicle, even if you're the one on the other side of it. I could have worked this business through that. And so I appreciate you taking the time, because it's important for everyone to know anything can happen at any moment. And for us to know we have this vehicle for our family and can bring an income in. Like, I totally could have worked this from the month of my hospital bed recovering and therapy. And that's huge. So I just want to thank you for sharing your story. One of my struggles, and I know it is mindset too, and I'm waiting for Train Your Brain, but I'm very big on mindset without it. But my question to you would be, shows are definitely the hardest part for me. It's easy for me to share the opportunity and everything else. I would like to know, is there any tips on how you, and there may or may not be, bigger than what we already hear with Melissa, is there any tips on getting all those shows? Because I'm just struggling with I have very dedicated customers that are just like, even though they hear it every time they order, you can get it free, you could get a discount, I share it all. And they're like, nope, I'd rather just be your customer. I love you and I'll just give it all to you. And those are the ones that really have a lot of network. But they're just not wanting to book a show. So I am looking for new people, but any thoughts on how to get a show scheduled with those loyal customers?
Sometimes they don't want to have a show because they don't know who they would invite. So I know when I started, it was just like, oh no, I don't want to have a show. And I'm like, oh, but if you do, then you could invite Peggy and Diane and Sandy and Mary and Judy. Like, can you just get them together and then I'll just come over? Oh yeah, well, I can do that. And I'm like, and if it works and you get free product, that's cool. But I think like now with, you know, so much going virtual, finding out like, if I were to have a show for you, you know, would you prefer like getting people together one-on-one? Do you want to try Zoom? Like, I don't know, finding out like which way they would be more comfortable if you were to do one, you know, not saying that you're having a show, but I'm just trying to figure out like, you know, what my customers want. And
Makes sense.
I
Okay.
don't know. Yeah, I have customers like that too. It's like, oh no, I'm good. Like, I'm just going to keep ordering, but they'll eventually send you referrals. And the
Gotcha.
referral might be the one that's going to book the show.
True. Because I am
Um,
pretty new, 6 months in, and really truly working for 3 months. So
Oh gosh, yeah. So another thing you can do is, hey, I always let every one of my customers know the 3 opportunities of how to get Libri. So do I have your permission to share those with you? Oh yeah, sure, that's fine. Can we talk, you know, can we set up a time to talk, or would you rather me just, you know, however you're connecting with her, should I just text them to you? You know, but then it's the opportunity to, you know, make money, spend money, or save money, you know. So you can make money by joining me and being a member. You can save money by hosting a show, or you can just keep spending money like you've been doing and be one of my best customers. But
I like
kind of like, this is what I tell all my customers, you know, it's your disclaimer. I don't know if it's for you, but I just want you to always know these are the 3 things that I have to offer, because it might not be for you right now, but you might be ready to host a show or in 6 months.
Got it. Thank you so much. That was perfect.
Um,
That wording. It's the truth. It gets in
I
the feels.
Yeah, I love the spend money, save money, or earn money. And I love that you said, like, get really specific with them. Invite Jodi, invite Regina, invite Brandy, like
Suggestion.
tell them who to invite. That's perfect. And something else you told me last year, Jodi, was to ask for bookings from people that don't know each other, like to get outside the social networks and ask different ones.
Yes. So I'll still recommend that to my team too. It's like, don't ask your 3 sisters each to have a show, because they're all going to invite each other. So to ask one sister to have a show and have her invite the other 2, and they can even all bring a friend. But then from that party, the other sister can book. So you'll get your own little tree branch and your lineage of shows off of that. But if you start and everybody knows each other, they'll do the whole, oh, well, I'll just book off of you, and then I'll book off of you, and then I'll book off of you, and then I'll book off of you, and then all of a sudden you're stuck in the same circle because they just keep inviting each other. So if you start with, you know, 8 different people that don't know each other, and you kind of suggest who you want them to invite, especially if you're friends with these people, it's easy to say, oh, you know, like to your college friend, oh, why don't you invite, you know, our college friends, and oh, you know, my neighbor's gonna have a party and she's gonna invite these people that you know she knows. So that does help expand pretty quick. And then as long as you're good with, you know, hey, at the show you have to ask every person, you know, it's just like what you do, you know, even if the, you know, cute little 90-year-old is there, you're like, oh, I don't, you know, what are you thinking about getting some of your friends together for a show? And then she starts laughing, and it's like, well, I didn't want you to feel like I didn't want to have a party with you, because I would. So let her say no. Yeah.
I love that. And you know what I did last year is I went to my customer list and I looked for anybody that was in a different state than me. And now our team has consultants in 38 states. Like those parties that I booked virtually, we just have so much potential for growth, you guys, with these virtual parties, the Zoom parties, the Facebook Live parties. I'm sure there's types of parties out there we haven't even discovered yet that are virtual.
That's
Anybody else?
amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we've been doing Libri 101 classes, and I feel like people have really been wanting to come to those. They're shows. They are shows, but we're calling them LeBri 101 classes, and we're letting our new consultants come to them too, so that they can see what a show looks like. And I'm totally going to add the spend money, save money, or earn money to that at the end, because I love those words. Mom,
Yeah.
did you have another question?
Spend money, save money, make money. Yeah.
Make money, that's what it was. I like that.
Yeah.
Mom, go ahead.
No, I was spraying thieves on my keyboard and around the area.
Oh, you got unmuted. Does anybody else have a question for Jodi? She's given us so much of her time. I'm so grateful. Last call for questions. Mom,
I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
So where I live, the word party means we're getting drunk. I live in a college town and there's no college. And I'm 51 years old, and 98% of the people that live here are single and just want to not have any commitments. Peter Pan land.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I live at the beach in California, and my parties have just been online referral, no actual me telling the story, talking. It's just been referral, and oh, well, if she's going to get it, I'm going to get it. And somehow, by the grace of God and abundance flowing through me, I've managed to become a supervisor in a few months. But what I would really like to do is the traditional, let me actually show you how to use this stuff, guys. And I acknowledge that I've become an enabler, and I've just send them videos how to use it. So I'm like, you skipped the whole learn about it, they buy it, and then I send them a video on how to use it. And here I am today going, oh man, I got to send a bunch of people videos because they bought sets without even trying it over the weekend, and
Mom,
they don't even know.
Mom, what's your
she
question?
needed to learn that part. So my question is how do you get someone to commit to a Zoom party or a time? Like, what's the hook line or the catch in my age bracket? Is there?
What about even just asking them to help you practice? You know, hey, I was wondering if you'd help me practice. I'm trying out a new show right now, or I'm trying a new way to share LeBri. All you'd have to do is invite like 3 to 8 friends, and they don't have to buy anything, but if they could just come and let me practice sharing more about LeBri, I'll give you a free body butter. And if all of a sudden, you know they're going to end up ordering, and then you're like, hey, guess what? With the body butter, you're going to get a $200 shopping spree. But sometimes if you take away, it's just it's like, hey, I'm going to do a practice show. Could you help me out? Or you invite them to yours. Like, hey, I'm trying to practice show for myself. Can you come and give me your feedback? Let me know what you think. So then after, you're like, do you think that was too long, too short? What kind of questions do you think people are going to have? So then they get, hey, you're one of my best customers. Could you help me? Could you join this and let me know what you think? So then it's like, okay, well, now I'm going to take your feedback, and now I'm going to go and do this for some more people. So would any of you want to help me out and be one of the first people to have, one of my new shows that I'm doing?
Because I like that, because I really would like to do like what Melissa's done, the 101, and I would like to, can't do it in person yet, but at least do the Zoom, or even if it's a live in a group. It's just getting that commitment here. I don't know what people are doing that they're so busy, but.
Well, and like Jodi said, like, ask them for their buy-in. Will you help me practice? There's a free body butter in it for you if you invite people. I like the practice piece, because then it's a relationship, right? It's not like I'm taking from you, or you're taking from me. It's will you help me and do this together with me? I like the practice.
And then say,
verbiage.
Can you find a couple of people that can jump on the Zoom?
Yeah. And that's what we've been doing with the LeBri 101s. And okay, the first one was crazy. The first one had 59 people, but it was consultants. It was consultants invited people. You don't have to have a lot of people for it to be a show, you guys. Some of my most impactful shows was one-on-one. Like, the hostess showed up and that's it. Or like one guest showed up and that was it. And guess what? They're lifelong customers because they get this one-on-one. They're huge huge in their referral basis, or they end up joining. So doesn't matter. The quantity doesn't matter. It's the quality, right? So
Even if I get the one-on-one, I think it's
Right.
going to help me, because I can't even, I have not even, I don't get even the one-on-one. They just buy from my lives or from trusting.
yeah, Jodi is
That's
the
my
show
biggest,
queen, President Circle, and
that's what
all
I
that.
want.
Yeah. Well, you've done it, Mom. You've done it twice
Well,
now.
now, yeah. So now you just don't keep thinking like, I'm great at sales, but you know, getting shows is hard. But it's so hard to get shows. But I'm really good at this, but I just can't get shows. You know, I can
Shows is
sponsor anybody,
easy.
but I can't get shows. Because if you keep validating, like you keep reminding yourself why you can't get shows, you're gonna not get shows. So you're just like,
Going to the next door.
sponsoring is so easy, you know, and now so is, you know, and I'm getting really good at booking shows. I'm getting really good at having customers come to me and ask for a show. All of a sudden, customers just are, I don't even have to ask them, they're coming to me. They all want free stuff, and this is so easy. And when I do a show, I get so many more shows. This is going so fast. I only really have to find 6 shows, because I know when I find 6 shows, I'm going to get 8 more from them. And then from those 8, it's just going to keep snowballing. And this is actually a lot easier than I thought. You know, so it's kind of just like that language, and you're going to start attracting shows.
I
And
love it.
Thank
Melissa,
you.
I will say this is only like the second or third time I've shared my story too without crying. It's like, I think I have to be at a certain time in the month in order to do this. I don't know. I've shared it so many times, and I'm usually
Totally. Go ahead, Brandy.
Oh,
Brandy
I
has
would
something to say. Hold on. Go
I
ahead.
would just briefly validate what both of you are saying about just having the show, number one, because Melissa's doing the LeBron 101 on Wednesday nights, and I'm going to do it on, I'm checking out what day, but I'm doing it one as well every week for a while. And the last one I had 0 new, the 35 invites I made, no one showed up. Only one person actually asked for the link of the 35. I was still good with that. Only consultant showed up. However, the one consultant, my mother, who was on and always supports me, learned about the serums and ended up qualifying for the month, because she wanted every serum that I've tried to teach her about every time she's ordered, but she's just never listened. But she listened this time. So it's all about just making yourself open to it, because the abundance will flow in one way or another. Thank you.
I love that. Abundance flows to me daily. That's a really, really good one. And then you decide what abundance means to you. So cool. All right,
Yeah.
Jodi. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm so grateful. I mean, we almost kept you for the whole hour. Hopefully you had that scheduled for us. I'm just so grateful. Do you have any last words before we let you go?
Well, I think they're all in good hands with you as their leader. So the next thing is just, you know, be excited and just it is literally, it's like how you say things. It's your mindset first. Because when you have your mindset there, when you take action, you get better results. So I say, if you're not feeling good, just don't do anything. Go take a nap. Because if you take action when you're not feeling good, you're going to get bad results, and then you're going to feel even worse. So
yep, that's so true.
cut yourself some slack. And yeah, I know I could just go on and on. This is what I love to share. I figure Lori Langell does a great job teaching people how to book, sell, and sponsor.
Well, when you told me, I can't remember if it's you who told me this or Gina told me this, but it was about how you train your team. And it's like, you don't even train your team how to book shows and get sales and sponsor. You teach your team how to have the right mindset. And then from there, like, the rest takes care of itself. And whenever I heard that, I was like, that's it. That's all I have to do is like tell people to buy this $10 book, and they're going to be like, all these executives are going to be running around. And it's true, right? Like you said 98% of the work is mindset, and then 2% is the skills, the booking shows, the closing a sale, and sponsoring. So thank you, Jodi.
92 and 8.
92 and 8. There we go. See, I flipped it to where it was even less
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Who knows? It might
92 and
be.
8. Well, Jodi,
But you
we'll
can
go ahead.
switch it.
What? I can switch it?
I was gonna say when somebody new joins, you can tell if they're gonna be successful just by their first conversation. They're like, oh, nobody will buy from, everyone says it's too expensive. And then the next girl is like the neighbor, and she joins and she's like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. Everybody has skin. This is like the easiest thing I've ever done. Like everyone wants to try LeBray. So you can tell just right there. It's like, oh, hey,
believe.
you gotta like, let's fix your story. Yeah, before you get started. So
fix
your
the story before you get started. I love that. Well, Jodi, we'll go ahead and let you go, and then I'm gonna stay on with everybody else so we can digest as a team and check in with everybody. And we love you so much. Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So grateful. Thank you.
you.
See you soon.
Bye, Jodi.
All right.